20 seconds of fuel left, alarms screaming, and the world's most expensive spacecraft is about to crash on the moon. What happened in the next 20 seconds would either make history or kill 2 astronauts on live TV in front of 650 million people. This is the untold story of Apollo 11, and almost everything you think you know about it is wrong. Here's what NASA didn't tell you. The astronauts had a 50% chance of dying. Nixon had a secret speech ready if they never came home. And the flag they planted? It fell over the moment they left. So how did 3 men, using less computing power than your microwave, actually land on the moon and come back? Stay with me, because I'm going to walk you through the 4 moments that almost killed Apollo 11. And the 4th one still gives NASA engineers nightmares 50 years later. 1961. America is losing. The Soviets have launched the first satellite, the first animal in space, the first human in space. And the United States? Their rockets keep exploding on the launch pad, so President John F. Kennedy walks up to a microphone and makes what might be the most insane promise in political history. We choose to go to the moon in this decade. There's just one problem. Nobody knows how to do it. The technology doesn't exist. The math hasn't been done. NASA doesn't even have a rocket powerful enough to leave Earth's orbit, let alone travel 240,000 miles to the moon and back. Kennedy just committed America to the impossible in front of the entire world. And he did it with 8 years on the clock. What NASA does next is the most expensive engineering project in human history, costing $280 billion in today's money. They hire 400,000 people. They build rockets from scratch. They invent the computer chip industry. But by 1967, everything is falling apart, because Apollo 1 is about to become a nightmare. January 27, 1967. 3 astronauts strap into the Apollo 1 capsule for a routine test. Gus Grissom, Ed White, Roger Chaffee. The hatch is bolted shut from the outside. The cabin is pumped full of pure oxygen at high pressure. Then, a single electrical spark ignites. In seconds, the entire capsule becomes a fireball. The 3 astronauts try to open the hatch, but it's designed to open inward, against the pressure. It's physically impossible. They die in 17 seconds, on the launch pad, before ever leaving Earth. America is devastated. Congress wants to cancel the entire program. The Soviets are pulling ahead, and now 3 American heroes are dead. But NASA does something remarkable. They tear apart everything, redesign the capsule from scratch, change over 5,000 parts, and 2 years later, they're back. Because in July 1969, 3 new astronauts are about to attempt what has never been done, and the odds are stacked against them. Neil Armstrong, a quiet test pilot who almost died twice before Apollo 11. Buzz Aldrin, a brilliant engineer with a PhD from MIT and a fierce competitive streak. Michael Collins, the forgotten astronaut who would orbit the moon alone, becoming, at times, the most isolated human being who has ever existed. Here's something wild. Neil Armstrong wasn't originally supposed to be first. NASA had a rotation system, but because of scheduling and personality choices, Armstrong ended up in the mission that would define human history. And Armstrong was almost the wrong choice, for one reason. Just a year before Apollo 11, during a training exercise, his practice lunar lander malfunctioned. Armstrong ejected less than 1 second before it crashed and exploded. He calmly walked back to his office and continued paperwork. That's the kind of man they needed. Because what happened next required nerves of steel. July 16, 1969, launch day, 9:32 a.m., Kennedy Space Center. 1 million people have gathered on the beaches of Florida. Another 650 million are watching around the world. The Saturn V rocket stands 363 feet tall. It weighs 6.5 million pounds, and it's about to unleash the most powerful engine ever built, generating 7.6 million pounds of thrust. For comparison, this rocket produces the energy of 85 Hoover dams, all at once. 3, 2, 1, ignition. The ground shakes for miles, windows crack, and the largest machine humans have ever built claws its way into the sky. For 8 minutes, the astronauts endure crushing G-forces. Then, suddenly, silence. They're in orbit. Now comes the truly insane part. They fire their engines one more time and slingshot themselves toward the moon at 25,000 miles per hour. For the next 3 days, they coast through the black void of space. And then, on July 20th, they arrive. That's when everything nearly falls apart. Armstrong and Aldrin separate the lunar module, nicknamed Eagle, from the command module. Collins stays behind in orbit. Eagle begins its descent to the moon. and immediately alarms start screaming. Program alarm, 1202. Neither astronaut knows what that means. Neither does mission control. The onboard computer is overloading. One wrong decision and they'll have to abort. A 26-year-old engineer named Steve Bales makes the call in seconds. Go. They continue. Then, Armstrong looks out the window and sees something horrifying. The computer is landing them directly in a field of boulders the size of cars. He takes manual control. Something NASA had never planned for. He's flying the lunar module himself, looking for a safe landing spot, while fuel drains at a terrifying rate. Mission Control begins counting down. 60 seconds of fuel. Armstrong still can't find a spot. 30 seconds. Aldrin calls out altitude readings, calm and steady, even as his heart rate hits 156 beats per minute. 15 seconds. If they don't land in 15 seconds, they crash, or abort and die. Then, Armstrong's voice crackles through the radio. The Eagle has landed. Mission Control erupts, but there's no time to celebrate, because now they have to walk on it. 6 hours after landing, Armstrong opens the hatch. He climbs down the ladder in that bulky white suit. Cameras roll. 650 million people around the world hold their breath. He steps onto the moon. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Aldrin follows 20 minutes later. He looks around and calls the view magnificent desolation. They plant the American flag, but here's the untold part. The flag was designed with a horizontal rod because there's no wind on the moon to make it wave. And when they blasted off later, the exhaust knocked it flat. Every flag from Apollo 11 through Apollo 17 either fell down or was blown over. So the flag on the moon you picture in your head, it's been lying face down for over 50 years. Armstrong and Aldrin spend just 2 hours and 31 minutes on the surface. They collect 47 pounds of moon rocks. They plant scientific instruments. They leave a plaque that reads, "We came in peace for all mankind." Then they climb back into the Eagle, and now they face the moment NASA feared most. To get home, Eagle's ascent engine has to fire perfectly, just once. If it fails, Armstrong and Aldrin are stranded on the moon, forever. President Nixon literally has a speech prepared for this exact scenario. It begins, "Fate has ordained that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on the moon to rest in peace." And here's the terrifying part nobody talks about. While inside the Eagle, Aldrin's bulky spacesuit accidentally snapped off a plastic circuit breaker, the one needed to arm the ascent engine. Without it, the engine can't fire. They can't leave. They radio Mission Control. Engineers scramble. There's no solution. So Buzz Aldrin does something MacGyver would envy. He jams a felt-tip pen into the broken circuit, and it completes the connection. The engine fires. Eagle lifts off. They rendezvous with Michael Collins in lunar orbit. They begin the 3-day journey home. On July 24th, 1969, they splash down in the Pacific Ocean. Alive, successful, historic. Kennedy's impossible promise, made 8 years earlier, has been kept. But what happened after Apollo 11 is the strangest part of the story. Between 1969 and 1972, NASA sent 12 men to walk on the moon. Then, we stopped. For 50 years, humans haven't returned, not once. The rockets got mothballed, the plans got lost. NASA lost the original tapes of the moon landing, actually lost them. And here's what really haunts me. The Saturn V rocket that took men to the moon, we literally cannot build another one today. The engineers who designed it are dead. The manufacturing techniques are gone. The knowledge is buried. Neil Armstrong became a recluse. He barely spoke about the moon for the rest of his life. He said walking on it was less about him and more about what humans could achieve when they refused to accept the word impossible. Here's the lesson of Apollo 11. We put humans on the moon using computers weaker than a modern calculator. We did it with slide rules and hand calculations. We did it because 400,000 people believed a dead president's impossible promise. We didn't go to the moon because it was profitable. We didn't go because it was safe. We went because it was hard. And somewhere in that story is a reminder that when humans decide to do something, really decide, nothing on this planet or beyond it can stop us. If this video inspired you, hit that subscribe button. I break down the greatest stories in human history every single week. Comment below. Do you think humans will walk on Mars in your lifetime? Or was Apollo the last great leap we'll ever take? I'll see you in the next one.